It's intensified its ground operation in Gaza, as well as stepping up strikes from the air and sea. Benjamin Netanyahu says he's determined to avenge the terrorist attacks of October the 7th.
Our hero troops, they have one supreme main goal: to completely defeat the murderous enemy and to guarantee our existence in this country. We've always said, never again is now.
Well, communications have been cut in Gaza and people are again encouraged to move to the south. Meantime, Sir Keir Starmer's team says Labour's position on not calling for a ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas conflict remains unchanged. The party's leadership is supporting the government's diplomatic push for humanitarian pauses to allow aid into Gaza and for people trapped in the bombarded territory to leave. Carl Hansen is assistant editor at socialist magazine Tribune. He told LBC a growing number of Labour MPs are breaking rank.
Already today, I think we've had 13 of his own front bench MPs defy Keir Starmer and come out and publicly call for a ceasefire. Andy Burnham, Anna Sarwar, Sadiq Khan. Keir Starmer is increasingly becoming an isolated figure in supporting Rishi Sunak and supporting Israel's bombardment of the Gaza Strip.
The Met Police says it's now looking to trace 2 women in connection with reports of a hate crime in Trafalgar Square in London. It follows the pro-Palestinian demonstrations near Downing Street earlier this afternoon. An SNP MSP who ran to be its leader has made a shock defection to a separate pro-independence party. The Scottish First Minister, Humza Yousaf, has called Ash Reagan's defection no great loss, though. Now, talks on Ukraine's plan for peace have begun on the island of Malta. Officials from more than 65 countries are taking part in the 2-day meeting, but none are from Russia. The Kremlin's refused to attend, saying the initiative is biased. Moving on to sport, and Arsenal remain unbeaten this season thanks to a 5-0 thrashing of bottom side Sheffield United. Thanks to a 2-0 win over Chelsea, Brentford were reigned champions in their derby, and the Scottish Premiership leaders Celtic were held to a goalless draw by Hibs. LBC weather: heavy rain across southern England and South Wales tonight. That will eventually reach northern England, Northern Ireland and the south of Scotland by dawn. Clear periods and showers elsewhere with an overnight low of 8 degrees. From Global's newsroom for LBC, I'm Serena Farrell.
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
Oh, hello there. Very nice to meet you.
Well, let's get back to it.
Texts and tweets and such from last night. Oh, hello there. So nice to meet you. He used to be our foreign secretary. Can you believe that?
No.
Shut up and go away. That'll teach Vladimir Putin. Shaking in his booties, I bet. Texts and tweets from last night. John texts, Professor Brian Cox, you know, the space scientist, the science hippie? Oh, look at the sky. It's so amazing. You know, that bloke. Professor Brian Cox played keyboards on Things Can Only Get Better by D-Ream. Yeah, that's right. And from that moment on, things did get better. Remember? And things then got considerably worse. Why?
This government.
Exactly. James texts, something worth considering regarding the low polling of Greens is that there would be quite different answers for 2 slightly different questions. If the question is, who do you support, or who would you vote for if we had proportional representation, then I'd be Greenies all the way.
Yowza.
He says, sadly, Labour is saying they're not going to bring in PR, so I think Green and the Lib Dems should agree to lend them their votes to make sure they get in on the understanding that Labour will then bring in PR and have another election, though, as you often lament, it's hard to believe they'll take all the power and then hand it back to the coalition we so sorely need. That's a very long text there, James. I edited it for convenience, and I completely agree with you in every way, shape and form. Meanwhile, Tony texts, I'd just like to say I'm stuffing garlic... I'm not stuffing... Scoffing. He says, I'd just like to say I am scoffing garlic stuffed olives. Well, thanks for the update, Tony. If anything changes, I want you to let me know straight away, all right? Elaine says, a lady caller last night discussing music is talking out of her hat. In Get Back, which is the documentary of the Beatles recording Get Back, which put together by that bloke what did, the film about the Peter Jackson is the right answer, coming from next door, did the Lord of the Rings, you know, Gollum, Gollum, that. He says, in Get Back, it clearly showed McCartney was the powerhouse trying to get tracks finished off. Lennon appeared to be constantly distracted by Yoko, who wished to take an interest in her knitting. Without McCartney, there would have been no Beatles. While he blew everyone away with his Glastonbury set, he restored my faith that there is something great about Britain, says Elaine. Well, yeah, I mean, Paul McCartney is great, but he's not the only great thing about Britain. And if I were him, and I had been there in that band during that period when they were trying to get the Get Back set together, and John Lennon had come in trailing Yoko Bloomin' Ono, I would have been absolutely furious. You know why they call her Yoko Ono? It's because every time she enters a room, that people say, Yoko? Oh, no. Rose text, the purpose of voting, the only purpose is to facilitate the best end result. If you think we'll be in hell in a handcart if the Tories get back in, vote in any way that helps to keep them out. Right. I think I get that. Yeah. And Babs says, you can't get a hearing test on the NHS anymore. The doctor sends you to Specsavers. Yeah, that's right. Anything to do with your head is not the department of the NHS anymore. They only do neck-down stuff, apparently. So this is disappointing. Fishy Sunak is planning to delay holding the next general election until Halloween 2024. Oh, no. Yeah, with surveys showing the Conservatives trailing Skiers Labour by 20 points. Tory strategists have penciled in October the 31st next year as the most likely date for the election. Enough time for the economy to pick up, but not so late as to look desperate. Yeah. The last possible date for an election is January the 28th, 2025. Yeah, or never. I mean, they've taken away our right to protest, so what's going to stop them from taking away our right to vote? People think it could never happen. Well, you know, there's a lot that's happened that you might have thought could never happen. Like Liz Truss, for instance, being installed as our Prime Minister.
Absolutely.
That happened. Sunak's advisors are also plotting a pre-Christmas reshuffle to promote young talent. Yeah, I can't wait. Young talent. I mean, they've scraped the bottom of the barrel and now they're digging through it into the earth. See what they can come up with. Young talent. Despite Labour's commanding lead in the polls, says the Mail, ministers have been told by Isaac Levido, the party's election strategist, that with a fifth of voters remaining undecided, the election is still winnable. A fifth of voters remain undecided. 20% of us are saying, I mean, hello? Wake up, sheeple, it's later than you think. You don't know who to vote for? You aren't sure if you want 5 more years of what we've suffered through for the last 13? You haven't made your mind up?
Oh, fabulous.
Sunak's hopes are pinned on bringing inflation down, apparently. He's pledged to reduce it from 6.7% to 5.3%, or lower by the end of the year. And then, with the public finances in better shape, he will announce pre-election tax cuts in the budget. OK, couple of 3 things. First off, Sunak has no control on inflation at all. Who is he kidding? It'll go down as the rest of the world's inflation goes down, less quickly because of their stupid Brexit, but unless we rejoin the single market, there's nothing that Titchy Suit Size can do about lowering inflation, except taking credit for it if it goes down and saying it's due to external factors, nothing to do with him, if it goes up. And as for waiting to see if the nation's finances are in good enough shape to offer a tax cut, it doesn't matter if the country will be on fire, flipped upside down and sinking. Of course they're going to give us a tax cut, which will be sold as benefiting the ordinary hard-working person who is working hard and doing the right thing, but which will solely benefit the rich, as all tax cuts do, while further decimating the services that the non-rich depend on. And there's the being cruel thing, of course. The Supreme Court's ruling on his plan to send migrants to Rwanda. Or stuff them in a sausage-making machine. I mean, it doesn't really matter at this point, does it? The ruling is expected before Christmas, and if he can do it, it would also help to appeal to the permanently furious, you know, those casting around for someone or something to blame for how their lives turned out. Those people, so angry. Which is why, as I said yesterday, half of the stories in the Mail Online start with the phrase, fury as. It doesn't really matter what the rest of the story is. It might be fury as person strokes cat. It's irrelevant what the story is. They just want you to read fury as and maintain your ire, your anger, standing in the middle of the street, fists clenched, yelling, "I was going to stroke that cat." I was driving along last night, minding my own affairs. Da-da-da-da-da.
Rock and roll!
And it happened to me again. I can't believe it. Why do these things keep happening to me? I'm driving along at 20 miles an hour in a 20-mile-an-hour zone, and somebody ran into the road in front of me. And it was kind of like a cartoon. He just ran into the road and lay down in the road in front of my car. And so I thought, oh, again? Because about a year or so ago, in more or less the same place, I came upon something that I thought rubbish bags had blown into the road, and I started to go around them. But it wasn't a rubbish bag at all. It was some bloke who was lying in the road, crossways, last time. And I stopped and I put my hazards on and I started yelling at him, "Get out of the road, you moron, you're going to die." And he'd been refreshed. Booze. I expect a lot of it. And he sort of rolled over a bit, but he was still in the middle of the road. And so I put on my forceful voice, and I started channeling Gavin Williamson.
Oh, hello there. Very nice to meet you.
That moved him. I said, "No, you're still in the road, you idiot. Get on the pavement." And he struggled to do that. I mean, I didn't want to touch him, you know. I had no idea where he'd been. And at the moment that I was bellowing at him to get off the road, suddenly a police car showed up behind me. And I thought, well, about blooming time that happens, because the stuff you see on the road, I mean, there's never a police person around when people are undertaking me at 100 miles an hour in a 20-mile-an-hour zone while I'm going round a roundabout, you know, stuff like that. People who drive so crazy that you just hope, fingers crossed, that you will come by them a couple of miles up the road and they'll be upside down, spinning. I can't be the only person who thinks that. And so I got back in my car and I left them to it, grateful that, somebody was there to take over and it wasn't going to be just down to me. So that was about a year or so ago. And last night, I just couldn't believe what was happening. He ran into the middle of the road, right in front of me, put his arms by his side, and then lay down in the road. And I thought, well, is that a step forward in road safety? Not really, no. And so I was halfway driving around him, thinking, well, if I don't stop, then no one's going to. So I don't know why this keeps happening to me. What have I done to deserve this? And so I'll have to get out my blooming car and yell at this bloke now. And in my rearview mirror, there was a big white van. And at the moment that I was about to get out, it lit up like a Christmas tree. It was a police van that didn't have any markings on it. And I thought, well, I can't believe it. It's happened again. So I left them to deal with it because, it's like their job, isn't it? Not my job. Nothing to do with me. It was like that when I got there, literally. Why does this keep happening to me? Answers on a postcard to the following address: 0345 6060 973, text 84850, email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbot, LBC.
This is LBC. This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
Everything is going extremely well.
Everything is going very, very badly, so we're going to have to wait for another year before we are allowed a sniff at a general election. I can't believe it. And so we know what we're going to be, we know what to expect over the next year. It's Fishy Sunak kidding on that he has some control over inflation, some control over the economy, where he is effectively just blown around in the wind like a rudderless ship. Ain't got nothing to do with him, but he'll take credit for it if it goes down. Of course he will. He's just that sort of person.
I am totally 100% on it.
100% on taking credit for things he has no business taking credit for. And if bad things happen, well, it's got nothing to do with him. It's, external forces. So there's that, and there's the being cruel option, sending the damp and the desperate to Rwanda, and waiting to the absolute last minute and appealing to our greed and hatred. That's the plan. Great. I mean, just as long as we know where we are. What a way to run a country, eh?
Dreadful.
0345 6060 973. Birkhead, Tina. Tina.
Hello?
Yes, Tina.
Hi, Nick.
Tina.
Hi. I just picked up on earlier when you did your impression of Brian Cox. I thought it was very good.
The science hippie, yes.
Yes. And I'm really interested in astronomy and stuff, but when I listen to him, I just...
You lose all will to live? I understand.
Yeah, kind of.
It's kind of slow. I mean, I try to watch his programs because visually they're quite good.
Something wrong with his lips.
I'm sure. I'm sure he knows his stuff, but it's just a bit slow. Can't you pick it up a bit, you hippie?
Yeah, and he's always smiling and stuff.
Yeah,
I mean,
I know.
talking about black holes and
exactly.
things. I mean, we're all going to disappear and implode, and then he's got this smile on his face. It's not right.
It's not. I know. What's so blooming funny, Brian Cox?
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, get a haircut.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's a bit weird. He doesn't fit the mold, and
no.
Yeah. But you did a really good impression. I was really impressed, and you made me laugh, and you always make me laugh, so thank you for that, Nick.
Well, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Cheers, Tina. 0345 6060 973. Speaking of impressions, Tom texts, my dad has swapped his Elvis impersonation for a Mick Jagger one, and now he sounds just as bad. Are you interested? No, Tom. No. And furthermore...
No.
Ollie says, I am sad that you are still slandering the Tories. Why is this? Can't you see what damage Labour will do to this country? I've heard that so many times. Oh, well, I mean, you see it in the comment section of the Daily Fail. Oh, well, never mind about all the Tories. Labour would be just as bad, wouldn't they? No, they blooming well wouldn't be just as bad. And the evidence is the last time they were in. They have a list of achievements as long as your arm. I could not mention them all in a brief 3-hour show. As for the Tories' achievements over the last 13 years, well, there's, they did... I've got no idea. I've got no idea, and neither has anybody else. They did a poll. I mentioned this yesterday. Survey asked, how much, if at all, do you think the government has achieved in the last year? That is the last year of...
This government.
Yeah, that government.
This government, Mr. Speaker.
The things that were achieved in the last year. How much, if at all, do you think the government has achieved in the last year? A great deal? 2% thought that it was a great deal. 2% of the people in this country who expressed a preference said that the government had achieved a great deal in the last year. 2%. 2. Not much at all. 40. Not very much. 37%. And as those two are the same, not very much and not much at all are the same, that is 77%. 77% of the people in this country think that this government has achieved not much in the last year. In the last year of Fishy Sunak's drear leadership. 8% said they don't know. So I'm going to put them down as not very much. Because if you don't know, then that implies that you can't think of anything, doesn't it? So that is 40% said not much at all, 37% said not very much, and 8% said don't know. So let's add those up. It's a perfectly simple thing to do. An idiot could do it. So 40 plus 37 is 87, and 87 plus 8 is 101. 101% think that this government is a shower. Evidence. Tom says, last night you said I should vote in the general election, but can you tell me one party that has been that has the people's best interests at heart and not their own? It doesn't make never mind, Tom. God, people are still wanting presents or encouragement to go and vote. You should not need encouragement or gifts or encomiums or treats. There will be no treat, only no carrot, just stick. That's what it should be. You should be fined to within an inch of your life if you don't go out and vote in the next general election. Don't look for the perfect party because none exists. So look for the least bad option. And I think we all know what that is. And it most absolutely, totally and definitely is not...
this government.
Exactly. At least we can agree on that. Me and Fishy Sunak. Maidenhead. Hello, Paul.
Hello, Nick. Hope you're well.
Yes, very well, thanks.
Good. Oh, God, where do we start? What were you saying before the break about lying in the road and having to drive round him?
Yeah.
I don't think I want to come to London again.
No. That would be good advice. Do not come to London. Not now. Not ever. Never. I mean, what kind of a person does that? He bounded into the middle of the road with a big smile on his face, and he put his arms by his side, and he just laid down in the road. Well, who does that?
I don't know, and I'm surprised it's only 2% that it should have been 0%.
0% can think of anything positive that this government has done over the last year.
Yes, exactly.
And those 2% probably said that because they thought, oh, well, it must be something. I'll sound foolish if I can't think of anything. And so they said, yeah, they've done a great deal. They have. Name one single thing. I'll make this really easy for
nothing.
you. One thing that this government has achieved in the last year.
Destroy the country.
Achieved.
Yeah, that's it. But my main point was about plagiarism of music and everything, the old school stuff.
Yeah.
I've just come back from the club with my buddies, and it's really coincidental because we were talking about bands. Everyone copies the Beatles, everyone copies Led Zeppelin and everything.
Yeah.
And we were talking about the Doors.
Every other band is a Velvet Underground tribute act.
Ooh,
yes.
I love the Velvet Underground.
Why not?
Nico. Oh, yeah, I saw them at Glastonbury, actually, but obviously...
You saw the Velvet Underground at Glastonbury?
At Glastonbury, yeah. In
Velvet
93.
Underground?
Yeah, the Velvet Underground.
At Glastonbury?
Yeah, it was 93, wasn't it, or 92?
The Velvet Underground played Glastonbury?
Yeah. Yeah, I was...
I don't think so. I've got my glamorous assistant's waving his arm in the air.
Yes, they did, 1993, looking at the set
Yes, 93.
Who was in the
Velvet Underground?
Yeah, but who, though?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, Nico wasn't there, but I was pretty much, let's say, a little bit in
yes,
space.
Worse for wear, yeah.
It was a brilliant set. They were on about midday, 1 o'clock or something. And
I can't believe that. How come I missed that?
Oh, yeah, the Velvets are brilliant. We went to Glastonbury. Yeah, I got under the fence one year. Didn't play a thing.
Yeah,
but
well, that's just wrong, Paul.
No, it's free.
It's not free any more than nicking chocolate from Tesco's is free. It's not free.
No. I've only stolen one thing in my life. It was a Cadbury's cream egg, and I was 10.
Right.
But the thing is, I've just come back from the club with my buddies, and we were talking about all the old school bands, and the Doors. My buddy said, "Who sounds like them? Who could copy them?" There is no one or no band that can sound like the Doors. They are just completely classic.
Yeah, well, okay. But let's just agree on everything's been done under the sun. Can we agree on that? Yeah.
And Hawkwind as well.
Hawkwind, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yes.
All right. Okay, thanks a lot, Paul. 0345 6060 973. I'm pretty sure I saw Hawkwind play Stonehenge in 1982. I went to Glastonbury for the first time in 1982 and then went to Stonehenge Festival afterwards, which was kind of like walking into a Mad Max set. It was just berserk. I could write a book about the stuff that happened at Stonehenge, but I'm sure that other people have done that already. I think I saw Hawkwind, but I couldn't be absolutely certain. You know, memories are unsure in that regard. What's this?
Those are the two people that played in 1993 Glastonbury.
Velvet Underground, Robert Plant and Donovan.
I don't know who they are. Sorry, this is way out of my comfort zone.
You don't know who Robert Plant and Donovan are? Oh, my God. It's worse than I thought. 0345 6060 973. Alice says, an election on Fright Night. How appropriate. Let's give the Tories the fright of their lives. Yeah, I don't think I can wait that long. It seems like a cruel and unusual punishment to make us wait that long. Why do we have to wait that long? We've already made up our minds. Let's get to the punishment part. Hawkwind played Stonehenge in 1983. Really? Well, maybe I was, maybe I was in some sort of time-travelling device. I'm pretty sure it was 1982, although maybe they played Glastonbury in 1982. I don't know. What are you asking me for? Sean says, have you not realised the police are following you wherever you go? It's no coincidence that they're there when such things happen. Don't say I didn't warn you. Well, that did occur to me, actually. It occurred to me coming in. I thought, well, hang on a minute. Why were they both times that happened to me, they were right behind me. And last night it was in an unmarked van. And when they put their lights on, I mean, it's some good job of secreting all of those illuminations. Blimey, it was like Christmas behind me. And they took a good long while to turn their lights on. I wonder if they were waiting to see what I was going to do. You know, I'm not going to run over the bloke, am I? Or whether I was going to park illegally in trying to stop other people from running over this bloke. Maybe that was it. Maybe it was a trap. Maybe it was a police person who was lying in the middle of the road trying to get me to park illegally. Rumbled. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC. It's 10:30, the news headlines with Serena Farrow.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet @LBC. Text 84850.
What in places goes on inside that head of yours?
Let's have a call in Southampton. Hello, Simon.
Nick, good evening.
Simon.
A couple of things. First of all, people laying in the road.
Yeah.
Now, I've had this twice. I'm a cabbie, and I drive in rural areas, and so there's no street lights. One guy is literally only alive today, assuming he is alive, because I decided to slow down. I was coming up the road. I was probably doing about 45, 50 mile an hour. I see what I thought was a black bag in the road, you know, they float around. Black bag, but it wasn't laying crossways, it was head on. So all I could see was literally this, what I thought was a black bag.
Right.
And I thought, shall I drive? Because, I mean, you know, it's just a bag. Shall I drive into it and forget it, or shall I stop?
Yeah.
I actually did. It was 50-50. I thought, I'll stop because there might be something in it. I stopped, and there was a bloke laying head on. And it was literally a 50-50 choice. So, and I shouted at him, and he got up eventually, tried to get in the cab, get me to take him somewhere.
Oh, right.
That was the first one. The other one was a couple of months ago, and a bloke was laying crossways, and I pulled up beside him, and he wasn't moving. He wasn't having none of it. And I was shouting at him, and I tried prodding him and everything. In the end, I got, I think it's a bottle of Coke I had in the glove box, so I opened it up, and he was laying on his back, so his face was pointing straight up. So I poured this Coke straight in his face. Didn't move. Did it again. Bit of a movement. Did it again. Then he finally woke up. And I put him on the pavement and attached him with his arms to a lamppost. Well, I went to get my passengers. 10 minutes later, we coming back that way, and exactly the same place.
Great.
So that was that.
Some people you just can't reach.
No. It's bizarre. And I mean, what makes it even weirder is the fact that, these are dark country lanes with nothing around.
Yeah.
So how do we get there? I do not know.
But this guy last night, he didn't wait for a break in the traffic. I mean, I was doing 20, so I didn't have to screech to a halt. But he just ran out in front of me with a big smile on his face, put his arms tightly by his side, and sat down and then laid down in the middle of the road as though it was some kind of game. I just could not believe what I was looking at.
Is 20 the limit where you were?
And it was wet. It was wet as well, apart from anything else. The ground was wet.
Oh, it's pouring here. But is 20 mile an hour the limit where you were?
Where I was, yeah.
Yeah, well, in that case, he's got Sadiq Khan to thank then, hasn't he?
Yeah, that's right.
Thank you.
Yeah, good work, Sadiq Khan.
Next time, tomorrow. Right, quick question for you, right?
Oh, it's taking this quick question is taking a very long time.
Sorry. Right, this is, now, don't worry, I'm not giving any spoilers away, right?
Yeah.
I finished The Sopranos a few weeks ago.
Yes.
And the very last scene, the very last bit, at the very end, is that genius and art, or is it just, what's that all about?
I think it's the best end to any TV programme I've ever seen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people were furious about it. The guy who wrote it, what's his name? Simon somebody. He said that he had to leave the country because he was frightened about what the reaction would be like because, the whole of the nation, well, the world really, was on tenterhooks right at the end of that programme. And he said he had to leave the country and go to somewhere uncontactable because he was frightened that people were just going to be very, very angry with him. But I thought it was brilliant.
I was confused. I sat there for a couple of minutes thinking, what? And then when I actually sat and thought about it, oh, wow, that is amazing. That is really good. So if anybody hasn't seen The Sopranos yet, I mean, just watch it for the end alone. It's incredible.
I've seen it maybe 5 times all the way through from start to finish, and I think it gets better every time. In fact, I'm thinking about watching it again.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's good. Well, I mean, I've got about 8 or 9 different box sets on the go at any one time anyway. But doing that, you come across these people in life who, I mean, I can think of a couple that I've worked with. They're not bad. They're not necessarily, well, don't get me wrong, I don't think that's good.
I think he is. I think he is bad. Actually, I think this sort of doughy-eyed, like skinny suit for trust me and love me look that he's got. This sort of desperate to be liked thing that he's got on him. I don't buy any of that at all. I think he's a nasty piece of work.
I think he is, and I can certainly see the darkness in him. But on paper, on the face of it, just like that, he comes across as, look at me, I'm a people person. But he's one of these people in life, right, where I have never heard anybody say anything positive about him. He must be the most disliked person in this country at the moment.
Well, there's always
my view.
There's him, but he's such a cartoon character. It's a bit difficult to take him seriously as a human being rather than just as a comedy creation.
We said stop keeping us hostage. That's what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, this entire country is locked in Fishy Sunak's basement, chained to the radiator. Yeah, that's what it feels like. Yeah.
But the difference between him and Johnson is we're not going to get Stockholm syndrome with him.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Okay, so you're saying that one is better than the other, or?
What I'm saying is that because of Johnson being Johnson, he had that power to make people like him.
Yes.
Yeah. And so Stockholm syndrome is like when you fall in love with your abuser.
Yeah, no one's going to fall in love with skinny suit guy. No, definitely not. No. All right, thanks a lot, Simon. We appreciate your concern for your fellow road user. 0345 6060 973. Jim says, oh no, a broadcaster with material.
Oh no.
Mark says, got to say you're right about the Rolling Stones' new album.
Rock and roll!
How do a bunch of pensioners make such good, catchy tunes? He says, I'm only 60 and I have trouble just tapping my foot to one tune without breaking something. It's so unfair, says Mark. I don't know how they do it. Like, I really don't. I'll say it again. That new album makes them sound 50 years younger than they actually are. They just... and I said this last night, word for word, something of the order of... They've essentially handed every band on earth their bottom on a tray. By which I mean, they've said, there you are, we just dash that off, and it kind of sounds like... the beauty of the Stone sound is that it doesn't sound like they're really trying that hard. It sounds as though they've recorded it while falling downstairs. It's got that really kind of untogether thing about it. But it's just so... they're just so likeable. I mean, that's not an original thought, but I'm telling you, that new album, definitely, without question, one of the albums of the year, if not the album of the year so far. I can't imagine anybody's going to do anything better. And the second from last track that they do with... I initially thought, first time I heard it, I thought, is that Tina Turner? But it's not. It's Lady Gaga, about whom I know nothing other than she dresses weird. God, she's got a voice. And the duet that she does with Mick is just... oh, it's absolutely epic. It's off the scale great. But... I won't tell you anymore. You're going to have to go and investigate yourself. Mill Guy. Is that how you pronounce it, Anne?
That's quite correct, yes.
But it's but it's spelt Milngavie.
That's correct. But
So-
it's known for the West Highland Way starts here.
It's known for the what?
West Highland Way, walking the West Highland Way, a famous walk through Scotland.
right.
If you don't mind being eaten alive by midges.
Midges. Yeah, that's
Yes,
right.
uh-huh.
Yes. So,
I thought I'd add to your Fright Night after the bits of the conversation last night about slugs and snails.
oh,
I wonder if you knew that slugs and snails can abseil.
abseil.
That's right, abseil. I heard it on a gardening programme. A gardener had phoned in to say he couldn't understand how slugs were getting into his greenhouse. He sealed it all up and couldn't understand how they were getting in.
Hey, Anne, please speak directly into the phone.
He couldn't understand how the slugs were still getting into his greenhouse when
Yeah.
he sealed them all up and eating his seedlings.
Right.
And he discovered they were climbing up onto the roof of the greenhouse and abseiling down through the vents that were left open in the roof of the greenhouse.
But what
found
do
that
they
hard to believe.
abseil with?
They're sort of slime trails.
Oh, God.
And I've actually seen it myself. Yeah, well, I opened my front door one morning, and there was a slug dangling right in front of my eyes from the roof of the house.
Abseiling down with its own slime. Oh, that is disgusting.
Amazing.
Yeah, thanks for really grossing us out there, Anne. Appreciate that.
Okay,
All right.
you're welcome.
Ta-ta.
Anytime.
All right, 0345 6060 973. Adam says, if Tishy Sutrag and Jeremy Hunt can't find room for... every time I say his name, it's...
Warning, warning.
Jeremy Hunt can't find room for a tax cut before the next election. Do you think they'll just cut more facts instead? Yes, that's right. If they can't find a way to cut taxes, they'll just cut facts instead. Liar! Exactly. 0345 6060 973. Let's see now. Chingford. Hello, John.
Oh, John from Chingford?
John from Chingford. Chingford John.
All right. Actually, I'm a Muswell Hill-billy, really. I was born in Muswell Hill, but could never afford to live there.
John, can you call us when you get to Chingford?
Yeah, no, I'm here now.
Ah.
You know, you said about, I thought it was quite funny, you said James Cleverly looks like Desperate Dan. I found it very amusing, but I saw him yesterday, and he's got a full beard now, not designer stubble.
Has
and
he?
he looks more like Bluto out of Popeye. And I was thinking, Michael Fabricant as Popeye, Annalise Dodds as Olive Oil, and Bodger as Wimpy.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Wait a minute.
Wimpy?
In the Popeye cartoon, Wimpy's the chubby guy who's always eating hamburgers.
Oh, that is offensive.
Oh.
But pretty much on the nose. All right, well spotted there, John. Thanks for that. 0345 6060 973. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC.
Nick Abbot on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
You've got a good, your mind is a little bit, three-dimensional.
I have no idea what you mean. Talking of Desperate Dan, by the way, Foreign Secretary James Cleverly. James Cleverly is the Foreign Secretary. Can you believe that?
No.
Well, we've had a few, haven't we? Ain't that right, Bodge?
Yeah. Wait.
Yeah, we've had a few. Foreign Secretary James Cleverly spent almost £1 million of taxpayers' money on private jets for 2 overseas trips.
What?
Yeah, 2. The Tory ran up a bill of £561,531 in April as he attended G7 meetings in Tokyo before touring Papua New Guinea, the Solomon Islands, New Zealand and Indonesia. Wherever they are. James Cleverly, Foreign Secretary, was joined on the week-long trip on the government's own Airbus A321 by an entourage of 13 lickspittles, hangers-on and other assorted supplicants. With 53 hours of flying time, the government jet cost £10,595 per hour to use. And exactly what did we get for their gallivanting about? I mean, I understand that it might be wise to attend a G7 meeting. After all, we've made ourselves an international laughingstock by the musical chair's approach to choosing our leader.
This government...
Exactly. And publicly shooting ourselves in the foot with Brexit, and what with not being able to build a train line even at 10 times what it cost to do the same blooming thing in France. So showing up to remind the world that we're still here is probably wise. But Papua New Guinea, the Solomon Islands, what do we get for the cost of sending Cleverly and his freeloaders there? What do we get for his jaunt to New Zealand? I mean, they already bent us over a table and gave us a lashing when we signed a trade deal with them. How much more punishment do we have to take from the Kiwis? And Indonesia, what came from that little jolly? I mean, it's known for the vibrancy of its waters. Maybe James Cleverly was reminding himself that seawater is supposed to be blue, not brown, like ours is.
Disgusting.
But what was achieved? You know, apart from having the Foreign Secretary swan about giving it the big I am, which I'm sure made a welcome relief from, working, if you can call it that. But I'm not sure there was any benefit for us poor dopes who pay taxes.
The little people.
Precisely. But he wasn't finished there, because a month later, he hired a VIP jet, which is usually used by Korean pop stars, at a cost of £422,747.50, which seems a weirdly precise amount of money, to take him and 18 officials on a week-long tour of the Caribbean and Latin America. Go on, let it out. There, don't you feel better?
No.
The Embraer Lineage 1000E jet made stops in Jamaica, Colombia, Chile and Brazil. With 37 hours of flying time, the cost of the luxury jet worked out at more than £11,400 an hour. The plane has been described as one of the best luxury private jets the money can buy, with separate zones for dining and relaxation. It's got a lounge area, if you please, with a big screen TV. It contains a master suite for the main VIP with a queen-sized bed and a private blooming bathroom, including a large shower cubicle with which to get wet. The specific aircraft hired by Foreign Secretary James Cleverly had previously been used this year during the concert tours of the Korean girl bands Blackpink and Dreamcatcher.
Rock and roll!
And I have never heard of Blackpink or Dreamcatcher, but I think we should at least give them a go running the country for a bit to see how they do. I mean, for what it's worth, and it's not much, the ministerial code states that non-scheduled flights should only be used when a scheduled service is not available, or when it is essential to travel by air, but the requirements of official or parliamentary business or security preclude the journey being made by a scheduled service. And on this, like so much else, the ministerial code is so vague and nebulous that it allows any one of them to do anything they blooming well want, anytime they blooming well want to do it. And when they were asked by an inquisitive journalist why all this was necessary when millions of children in this country are living in destitution, a Foreign Office spokesman said, "The Foreign Secretary's job requires him to travel abroad to pursue UK interests. Value for money is taken into account in all travel decisions, and costs are published for transparency." Yeah, because, transparency is one of the regime's top priorities.
Under my leadership, the government's priorities are your priorities.
Yeah, sure. It's basically, don't question us, peasant. God, it's all so painful. We've got to suffer another year of this. Graham says, should we bother to put the clocks back tonight or not get out of bed till spring? Well, never mind about that. I mean, if I've got to suffer another year of this regime, I'm thinking of hibernating. The next 12 months. They won't be able to find me in a cave. Here is Wandsworth. James.
Hello?
Yes, James.
Yeah, I was just listening to your conversation about people lying in the road. When I used to do a milk round, I used to find that one of the problems getting around driving an old electric float
in
the West End. So
you came across people lying in the road too?
Yeah.
It's not just me?
Yeah.
Well, what's that about?
I don't know. It seems to be late at night, when they've probably had a few...
well, James, have you ever had alcohol?
Well, a few times.
A couple of times, right. Have you ever been drunk?
Yes.
Yeah, have you ever been drunk enough to lie in the middle of the road? No. No, I can't imagine it. How can you possibly be that drunk to lie in the middle of the road?
Well, not in the West End, no.
Not anywhere.
The M4 would be a
bad choice. Yeah. Bad choice. Yeah.
But on the brighter side, I hear you went to the Stonehenge Festival.
I went to Stonehenge in 1982, and I think it was one of the last times that it was allowed to happen. God, it was it was completely out of control. It was. I've never seen anything or been anywhere like it in my life. It was just off the scale.
Oh, well, I was in, I think, 76.
Right. It sounds like you're mentally still there now. A little bit, yeah.
No, we played on the hill, and we played at 5 in the morning, and just as it was getting light, and we could watch the Druids in a long line.
Who's we?
The band that I was playing in.
Yeah, but what's the name of the band? Anyone we know?
It was called the Here and Now Band.
That rings a kind of bell. Should it?
Yeah, they went on for a while, yeah.
Right.
And, no, it was a wonderful experience seeing the Druids line up and...
and the sun come up just so. Yeah. A magical place.
Yeah, magical, yeah.
Right.
I'm sorry yours wasn't so good as that.
Oh, no, it was great. I mean, I loved every minute of it, but it was the weirdest and most anarchic place I've ever been in my life. It was good to visit, but I wouldn't want to live there.
You weren't involved with the Druids?
No, not me, no. I was merely a bystander. I have details. Here and Now are an English psychedelic space rock band formed in early 1974. They have close connections with the band Gong.
Gong, yes, yeah.
And work with David Allen and Gilly Smith under the name of Planet Gong.
Gosh, yeah, that's well informed.
Yeah.
That was, I was before that all happened, yeah.
Yeah. All right, good to hear from you, James. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Cheers, mate. 0345 6060 973.
Rock and roll!
We are really, digging into all sorts of psychedelic stuff on this show this evening. Nothing to do with me. This program was like this when I got here. Christine says, you just reminded me of an incident that happened when I was a child. We were in a Mark III Cortina travelling along a lane at night. It was icy and cold with frost almost everywhere. We were at 40 mile an hour when a Mercedes almost flew past us at least 80 mile an hour. It disappeared into the distance. About 5 minutes later, we came to a roundabout, and in the middle of the grass-covered land, the island, it's spelled I-R-E-L-A-N-D, and in the middle of the grass-covered island, with a post in the centre, a Mercedes was literally wrapped around the post. Ambulance and police were there. Well, I hope everyone was fine, but, serves them right. Morons. We're surrounded by morons. And Tom says, does anybody ring the talking clock anymore? Is there such a thing as the talking clock anymore? It were grand when I were a lad. That's how you used to tell the time. You used to ring the talking clock. And if you wanted to listen to a record, you used to call up dial-a-disc. Anybody remember that?
No.
Just me. You tell that to the kids today and they won't believe you. Yeah, you wanted to listen to a record, kids, and you didn't have the ability to go out and buy it. Then you used to call up a service and listen to it on your phone at a cost of only, 50, £60 per call, something like that. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's at LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbot, LBC.
Is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
Okie dokie. What number are you calling from?
0345 6060 973. Andy says, Brian Cox, the science hippie, Brian Cox will happily point out that in 4 billion years' time, our sun will explode and engulf the Earth, whilst at the same time the Andromeda Galaxy collides with ours. But we get an extra hour in bed tonight, so it's not all bad news. Blimey, I cannot wait until the sun explodes and engulfs the Earth while the Andromeda Galaxy collides with ours. It cannot happen a moment too soon. Rose says, why isn't there a category absolutely nothing whatever in the questionnaire? Oh, the questionnaire for, one moment, please. Questionnaire that said, how much, if at all, do you think the government has achieved in the last year? Absolutely nothing whatever. 100% of the respondents said absolutely nothing whatsoever. And even if that's not true, it doesn't prevent it from being a fact. 0345 6060 973. Bloomsbury. Hello, Sophia.
Good evening.
Yes,
how are
Sophia.
you?
I am great, mate.
That's good to hear.
Is it?
I just want to say, in the last few hours of the summertime,
when the living was easy, yes.
As it is my birthday.
Your birthday?
Yeah, exactly. Tomorrow week, anyway.
Wait a minute. Wait. Back up.
Tomorrow week.
Tomorrow
on
week.
Day, on the fireworks day.
Okay, I take that back.
Well, it will be different then, because the question is, do you think, as we had a referendum saying we want to keep the summertime, that we had a chance actually of achieving it, or we just got ignored as usual?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
And anyway, as far as the Stones are concerned, I think they put us back in the Stone Age. He quite likes Jay Jagger because his name sounds very exotic and it's alliterative, but he was very nasty to Jerry Hall. And also, we've been telling a lot of jokes about the milk floats, because 7-Up is becoming out of date, and you can have to find Pepsi-Cola and Coca-Cola on the float and no milk anymore.
Well, you certainly are making a lot of sense, Sophia. 0345 6060 973. No, I have absolutely no idea either. I'm thinking, not a clue. It is the Stones' age.
Rock and roll!
Yeah, go out and buy that new album. Don't wait a single solitary second more. There has to be a up all night, 24-hour-a-day Stones store near you now. Don't waste another moment. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. You know, they had a survey in the... the European Union? Yes, that's them. They had a survey and asked people whether we should stop mucking about with the clocks and just leave them as they bloomin' well are. 84% of those who expressed a preference said yes, stop playing around with the clocks. 84%. And they still haven't done it. There seems to be just something about this issue that induces a sort of sclerotic response from our elected representatives. They just won't do it. I think for fear of a bad story occurring and then being blamed personally for that happening. Because there's bound to be something bad that happens. I mean, any change would presage some sort of bad event. If you look hard enough, you'll find one. And then the newspapers will have a collective fit and they'll say, thanks a lot, Rishi Sunak. You see what you've done? You idiot. So they just do nothing. Now, doing nothing will also have negative effects, but they don't get blamed for that because it's not doing anything. It's when they do something that they are concerned about the possible ramifications. God, it's painful. So we have to suffer this every blooming year forever until the sun explodes and the Andromeda Galaxy collides with us. Can't happen quick enough. Not when it does happen, it won't be a moment too soon. Just to relieve the pain of
this government.
Exactly. Jane texts, it was definitely 1983 Stonehenge Free Festival that Hawkwind played. I still have the homemade T-shirt. the homemade T-shirt. That didn't mean you were there. That means you made a T-shirt. Alex says, leave Brian Cox alone. We need more happy hippie spacemen, not fewer. Not to mention he's a musical legend beyond Jagger or McCartney. Brian Cox for Prime Minister. Let's make Britain de-ream again. Well, I'll go with the last one. I think you're just trolling me about the McCartney and Jagger thing. Troll alert.
Warning, warning.
Let's have a call in Durham. Hello, Margaret.
Hello, how are you?
Great, mate.
Good. I switched over to you tonight because I wanted a little light relief.
Yes, that's
which
right.
Which you provide, and it's wonderful because the world's in such a mess.
Mm-hmm.
But you mentioned the word destitution.
Yes.
And I am, you know how I am about the faith. What's happening to the children around the world is grotesque. But here,
yes,
in this huge economy, the strongest economy in the world, we have millions of children no longer living in poverty, but in destitution.
Yeah, they can't eat, they can't feed themselves, they can't heat themselves, and they got no roof. What is happening in this country?
I am ashamed of being English. I am ashamed that the beep government is just appalling. But the rest of people are. They don't care. We have got to help the children in our country. If you don't look after the little ones, God help you.
Yeah.
It's awful. It's disgusting. And what can we do? I write letters to the press. I write in the press. I take every opportunity like this to say, we've got children.
Well, we have to learn our lesson, for crying out loud. Stop voting for the same party that has delivered us this mess.
Well, exactly. It took a footballer to get them a meal in the summer holidays.
How about that? This is how upside down this country is. We're taking moral advice from a professional footballer.
Exactly. And he should be beatified. He wouldn't take a seat in the House of Lords. But you know, that's where the good and the great go.
Let's not get carried away. I mean, he just said some obvious things, and because he's a famous person, people were paying attention.
We've got to do something to stop think about it. They're going to be cold. They're going to be hungry. If there's one child in this country cold and hungry this winter, the blame is on all of us and the government. So I would lead the campaign. I've been in politics 30 years in a Labour council many moons ago.
Right.
I would lead the campaign. Help save the children.
Yeah.
We give to that, but
perfectly simple message. Yes. If you make a sign, Margaret, and I promise to meet you in a secret central location, and we can stage a protest for about 3 seconds before the police arrive, and then we'll be in jail for the rest of our lives. But, exactly. We'll have a moment.
Message.
Right.
Save our children.
Yeah, all right. OK, thanks a lot, Margaret. 0345 6060 973. Elaine says, have you noticed how superbly reliable your glamorous assistant has been? Several times over the last couple of evenings, she has interjected at exactly the right time with the very morsel of information that you were searching for, and then I began to fret and wonder if he is paid anywhere near his obvious worth. Just saying, says Elaine. Don't worry about that. He is adequately compensated. Isn't that right?
Yeah, it's one.
Yeah. Kieran says, my friend who had a knee replacement gone wrong, which caused major damage to her nerves, was offered nerve blocker injections to try to treat some of her ongoing pain. She was told that there'd be a 14-month wait.
What?
A 14-month wait. Unless she can pay to have it done within a few months.
Oh, fabulous.
Yeah, she is in immense pain constantly and has paid into the system all of her life, says Kieran. That's right. That's what's happening in this country. We used to have the world's #1 rated health service, by which I mean it was not the absolute best, but given all of the criteria that were involved in rating such things, we came out #1. Now, I mean, there's people in Tuvalu, there's people in the Horn of Africa who wouldn't go anywhere near our NHS. 13 years of safe in their hands. I mean, come on, people. Wake up. It's later than you think. Ed texts, I bet if Andy Burnham were Labour leader, the polls would rocket even higher in their party's favour. Well, maybe, but I'm no fan of Keir Starmer, but you'd have to say whatever he's done to arrive at the position where he's 20 points ahead of the Tories, and that they are looking at losing almost all of their seats. I mean, by some accounts, between 30 and 70 seats they'll have left. And among the people who would lose their seats are, my view, him, for a start. I mean, wouldn't that be great? And even...
this government...
Even him, he'd lose his seat as well. So, it's almost as though you don't want to rock the boat. I mean, it could be better, most certainly, but it's looking pretty good for the Labour Party now. So, and of course, on cue, you could set your watch by it. The Labour Party are starting to fight amongst themselves. Of course they are. Because, why spoil success? Not why spoil success, that's not quite the right way of putting it, but you know what I mean. It's like they just can't help themselves. If they just shut up for a while, of course it's going to be another year, so there'll be plenty of time for internal fighting. But I'm sure they won't lose a single solitary second in doing that. Starting now. And the Tories think that there's everything to play for, that they can, in fact, make it happen for them. God. Don't bear thinking about it, do it? Putney, Carmine.
Oh, hello.
Carmine.
Hi. I've just got really excited hearing James from the Here and Now band.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, I just turned on the radio and I heard James from the Here and Now band. I used to follow them all over.
Really?
Stonehenge, yeah. They played at Winchester Art College and we went to see them and went on there. They had like a clapped out kind of a tour bus thing and went on there afterwards, had some sort of herbal teas and stuff.
And yeah,
Is that
and
right?
they used to have a guitarist called Steffi Sharpstrings, and quite a lot of girls liked him, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So just out of the blue, the Here and Now band.
Yeah.
So quite excited about that.
Can you
tonight.
believe
But
that?
rock and roll!
The stuff you hear on this show. Don't miss a
No.
single solitary second. You never know what's going to happen next. I mean, I don't, so...
Brilliant. Brightened up my evening, anyway.
Yeah. All right, good to hear. Thanks a lot,
Yeah. Okay,
Carmine. Cheers, my dear. 0345 6060 973. Nick texts, according to YouGov, older, non-degree educated women homeowners make up the bulk of people telling YouGov that they don't know how they would vote if there was an election tomorrow. Emily Pankhurst has a lot to answer for. Yeah, thanks a lot, Emily Pankhurst. You see what you've done?
Thank you.
If only you could have left well alone. 0345 6060 97. That's not a controversial thing to say, is it? Of course not. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's at LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Yeah! Dudes!
Yusuf texts, I took your advice and watched the Arnie documentary. Brilliant stuff. It is. If you haven't watched the Arnie documentary yet, do it. Do it now. He says, I'm now listening to you again. I've been watching the Beckham programme. The Arnie documentary, by the way, I think there's 3 of them. It's on Netflix. It's very, very good. It really is. And the Beckham documentary, well, I approached it with a degree of trepidation. I thought, I'm not really interested, because you just get pummeled by the Beckhams, particularly if you read the Mail online. It's just every day. There's more about the Beckhams than there is about what a dreadful person Meghan Sparkles is. They've left her alone for a little while. I can't believe it. They'll remember that she's there in a couple of days probably, and think, oh, damn it, we haven't berated her in at least a good 3 or 4 hours. So they'll get back to her, don't you worry. But the Beckhams, it's like, oh, God, another story about the blooming Beckhams. But it's actually really good, the documentary that they did about the Beckhams. Anyway, Yusuf says, I'm hooked with 1 episode left. Do you have any other recommendations? Well, yes, I do. I mean, if you want documentaries, then The 100-Foot Wave is very good. It's on Sky. It's about big wave surfers, mostly in and around Nazaré in Portugal, because the waves that they got there are just unbelievable. But yeah, it's very good. There's 2 series of 6 episodes each. The 100-Foot Wave. I recommend it. It's got music by Philip Glass.
Groovy.
And you can't get better than that. 0345 6060 973. Orpington. Hey, Ray.
Oh, hi, Nick. Yes. One of your callers mentioned about the having a poll about the putting the clocks back.
Yes.
What the country... Well, I can remember when I was a youngster, and I'm 67 years old
67
now, so
years old.
Yeah. So it's a long time ago, and I can remember watching it on black and white television. That's how long ago it was. Anyway, I can remember that the country, this country, did like an experiment, what they called it, by not putting the clocks back.
A taste test. Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah, and they had all this footage of school children being taken to school under torchlight and things like that, and there was so much protest about it that they decided to keep it as it was. So there was a kind of a poll, if you like, but none of us really got a chance to actually sort of put our mark down and actually say whether we were in favour or not. And they kept on saying about the poor farmers.
The poor
so few farmers.
What difference does it make? Exactly, there's so few farmers now, and cows don't know what time it is.
Well, that's right. And the other thing, the other reason why I was really phoning was that, you're saying about people lying down in the road.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I had something when I was a youngster again, when I was probably in my early 20s. I'd been to a party in East Dulwich. And, effectively, I really had a bit too much to drink, and I wasn't really used to drinking. Mm-hmm. And I left this party, and I walked the 37 bus route, would you believe, because that was the bus route that I always took. I started walking from East Dulwich and I ended up at Wandsworth Common. And this was like at 2 o'clock in the morning, for instance. And all I can remember, when I got to Brixton, all I can remember was seeing headlights coming towards me and everything. So obviously I was walking in the road.
In the road.
And in the road, that's right, in the actual road with the cars coming around me and that sort of thing. I can remember doing it, but then I got blacked out when I got to Brixton. And basically, when I woke up the following day, I can remember waking up and I was at home, would you believe, Wandsworth Common. All my clothes were folded up and I was tucked up in bed, and I have absolutely no idea how I got from Brixton to Wandsworth Common. And it's quite a distance to walk.
Yeah.
And I think it must have taken me about 2 hours or more. And I actually was amazed that I hadn't been run over or anything like that.
I cannot believe that. I mean, this is not a unique story that you're telling me, that people black out. I have never been that drunk in my life.
Well, I was, because I've been mixing drinks, and I'd had shorts and stuff like that and everything. And I mean, I wasn't really a drinker, but of course, when you're at a party, you feel comfortable and go on, have one of these and start drinking it, and people start mixing drinks and everything like that. Right. And I was literally not only staggering, but I was kind of going in like, kind of circles, that sort of thing. All I could see was like lights coming at me. And but it's incredible how I got from where I started to where I got. But it's the fact that I'd locked all the doors behind me and I folded the clothes up, because I couldn't believe it, because I never do that. And it was just the fact that it was almost as if somebody looked down upon me and said, I think I will look after him tonight.
Right. Well,
I have no idea.
Well, maybe you function.
You were driving past.
Yeah, that's right.
You would drive past, pick me up.
And I folded your clothes for you. Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Nick.
All right. Cheers, Ray. 0345 6060 973. I've never been that drunk in my life. Martin says, Brexit has become an awesome warning across Europe not to repeat the disaster of Brexit, but instead to back pro-EU liberty and prosperity, says Martin in Loughborough. That's Luga Baruga, not Loughborough. Luga Baruga. Right, okay. Yeah, Loughborough is not spelt in any way like it's pronounced. But, it's one of those English words that is like that, to catch out the unwary. Like Fanshawe. I can't remember exactly how you spell Fanshawe, but it ain't Fanshaw. It's not that. I do know that's true. It's like feather and something. I can't remember. But anyway. 0345 6060 973. Let's have Hull. Brian. Too late. Let's have Barnet. John.
Hello?
Yes, John.
Hi there. I'm phoning up.
Hello there.
Hey?
Yes?
Yeah, I was listening to you talking about. I did laugh out loud when you said you were talking to somebody who couldn't remember who Jimmy Page and Donovan was.
Terrible.
I had a similar experience. There was a David Bowie tribute band playing in one of the local pubs.
Oh, yeah.
And
what were they called?
Bowie's Heroes.
Right.
And they were excellent.
I was hoping it was going to be something.
I
was hoping it was going to be funny, but apparently not.
No,
They just couldn't be bothered to think of anything funny. All right, go ahead.
Yeah. But what happened was I was walking up towards a pub, and there was a gang of teenagers outside, and I went, "Is this where they're playing the Bowie tribute band?" And one of them said, "Who's David Bowie?" And my imaginary long grey beard then hit the ground. And then when I was watching the band, the David Bowie looked like singer said, the next song is from 1972. And that was 51 years ago, and I remembered all the words.
Yeah, well, it's strange how music does that, ain't it? You can hear a song. I heard a song the other day. It was Ardeen Taylor, There's a Ghost in My House. I can sing along to that. I haven't heard that in about 30 years.
Yes, and I've got a Hawkman story for you.
Go on.
Right, I used to be a police officer, and one day there was a white van parked in a yellow line, and I went over, and the driver came out, and I went, "Is this your van?" "Yes." "Did you park it here?" "Yes." what's your name? He went, Leonard Kilminster. And I went, you're Lemmy from Hawkwind.
Right.
I'm a huge Hawkwind fan. I saw you in Birmingham, I saw you in Glasgow, but I still gave him the ticket.
Oh. He wasn't expecting that, I bet.
No, but it was just
you were just upholding the law. I understand.
Yes.
Doing your duty. Yeah. All right, good work. Thanks a lot, John. 0345 6060 973. Lorna says, next time somebody decides to lie down in the road, ignore them and drive around them. You don't know if he was with someone else and they want to rob you or nick your car. Just be careful. Yes, I'd had that thought as well. I did, not last night, because I didn't have time to get out of my car because the unmarked police van behind me, they they switched their illuminations on like Christmas. So I didn't have time to get out of my car. I just let them get on with it. But the previous time, I did think that it looks a bit like a setup. You know, you do your you do your Samaritan routine, and the moment you get out your car, somebody else hops in it and drives off with it. God, I saw a video the other day of somebody. I think it looked like King's Cross Station, and they arrived in a cab at King's Cross Station. As soon as the car pulled up, somebody. I mean, there's nothing funny about it. I don't know why I'm laughing, but somebody popped open the boot, nicked their case before they'd got out of the cab and just made off with it. And there's a picture of them coming around to the back of the car and opening up the boot, and there's nothing there. They're going on their holidays. They ain't got no case no more. So always be alert. Okay, the information coming in from next door. Fanshawe is spelt Featherstonehaugh, Featherstonehaugh, and it's spelt Fanshawe, which, by my reckoning, is about a half of the letters are silent. How ridiculous is that? It's just to catch out the unwary, isn't it? Very non-you to say Featherstonehaugh, because that marks you out as a dope. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's at LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC. It's 11:30. The news headlines with Serena Farrow.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850.
Now, wait a minute. I don't like that kind of talk. Now, just stop it. It upsets me.
Yeah, I want to talk about China, and I want to talk about our precious water and meat and council fundings and much else besides. I haven't had time on this very, very busy show so far to do any of the above because we've been, up to our eyeballs in the issues. But don't you worry about a thing. I'll get to it. Simon texts, Nick, the DVD is called Chess Records. It's a DVD that was made by Beyonce and shows Legacy of Muddy Waters. Chess Records opens in the US by a Jewish gentleman. The Rolling Stones have always had a connection to blues music. What the hell are you talking about? Let's see what this one's like. Beverly says, I first became aware of Lady Gaga's brilliant voice when she sang with Mick Jagger at a Stones concert in Newark in 2012. They performed Gimme Shelter. Check it out. Even just to look at her shoes, how she walked on them, I have no idea. Well, I saw a clip of the Stones doing, I assume that they were doing a playthrough of their new album to a small audience in New York. And Lady Gaga came on at the end. And she was wearing shoes that you wouldn't think a human being would be able to walk in. And she was galumphing around the stage as though she was stamping down divots in shoes that were about as tall as Mick Jagger was. I don't know how she does it. 0345 6060 973. Oldbury, Ranjit.
Hi, Nick.
Yes, Ranjit.
Listen.
Have you been frying tonight?
I have, yeah. And my wife was walking home, and my brother and his wife here, because I was working a bit late. Yeah, we just found a bloke lying on the floor on the pavement. And I just thought, what are you lot doing here? When I come to park my car up, when an ambulance came and the bloke got up and started playing with his phone, they said, what are you doing down here, mate? And I think he might have been intoxicated, so it's spreading, right? But
Right, it's gone all the way up to Oldbury, but at least he was lying on the pavement where you're supposed to lie down, not in the middle of the road where you aren't.
He was lying under a tree, and you know what? He looked all right, but I just didn't. When I got there, the ambulance had arrived. But seriously, you got to be careful about being hijacked and that kind of stuff, like people have said.
That's right.
But one day, you know, if you see somebody in the street and say, right, mate, here you are, got your ticket for Rwanda, you need to be careful because you are targeted. Okay.
Right, this is going on your permanent record.
Yeah, right, come on, mate, right, I'm your taxi for Rwanda or something like that. Regarding this shower, you know, the politicians, I mean, you know, they've scraped the barrel and everything, and how much more are they going to do now? I just can't understand, right?
Who are they going to, I mean, they're talking about getting new young talent. He's going to have another reshuffle. I mean, what new young talent? Have they not already made us suffer through everybody that they can think of? They've got new people coming in, they're stamping them out the back there.
Yeah, and then the other one, you know, the way they lied to us. They won the general election with the coalition in 2010. And then the next general election was 2015, right? Then was the one after that in 19. But they're saying we won like 6 or 7 general elections on the trot. No, I'd say to them, your mathematics are actually incorrect. Yeah, because you've got 5 different prime ministers over 3 election periods, if you think about it. And since 2010, we're on into the 3rd cycle of the election. So this is how they're hoodwinking everybody. And then, when is Joe Public going to understand? I mean, you banging your head against the wall, you are, I think, right? And people,
I know. I mean, talk about when are people actually going to wake up? 20% of the people in this country say they do not know who they're going to vote for yet. I mean, so does that mean that they're unsure about whether to give the Conservative Party another go?
That's what it means. That's what I mean. You know, when you say 2% have said they've really done well, it's smug, isn't it? When you ask people like smug, do you think Rishi Sunak's done well and the Tories? Oh yes, I'm done quite well. I mean, I was arguing with.
He'll say I've done quite well.
My view.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah.
Right. I was arguing with a friend of mine this afternoon. And I said to him, look, listen. He says, well, you know what? It's a voter absence. That's what all it is. And he says, we'll come back. He says, and you're going to probably end up having a car. I said, you ain't going to win. And he's convinced, right, that he's doing better. I said, okay. And I mentioned you. I said, look, you know, because I listened to Nick Abbot.
Yeah.
And you actually done, I think it was nearly 2.5 programs, yeah? So that was probably about 7 hours where you told people, listen, can you pick something where you're feeling better or what the Tories have done?
Name one thing that's better now than it was 13 years ago. Just one. I'll make this really super easy for you. Just one thing. That's all I'm after.
Yeah, and nobody could come up.
Not one person.
Someone's come up with someone today and says, oh, yeah, they've done fantastic at ruining this country. Yeah. Right? Remember a few years ago when Donald Trump used to look at a graph, he says, look, I'm doing really well, I'm moving up.
He's actually looking at the graph upside down.
Upside down.
You know.
Oh, shut up! You are. Yeah. That's what's happening to these. And you know, Joe Public, this is what's happening to them. They're being hoodwinked, right? Mm-hmm. And I hope that there's an election soon before Labour does the Tories' dirty work for them.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what I'm worried about. Right?
They are going to self-implode. It's started already. Don't you worry about that. And the Tories are going to cling on as long as they possibly can. And they're talking about another year of this. I mean, can you imagine the damage that they can cause in another year, particularly as they will, I'm sure, be convinced that they're not actually going to win. I mean, they'll make a good fist of pretending that they are. But being convinced that they won't win, they're just going to spend that year laying as many booby traps as they possibly can and ruining everything and making it impossible for the next incoming Prime Minister to do anything positive. At least for their first term, they'll be just putting out fires set by this lot. I think there's a lot of people who should be actually in jail for traitorous behaviour, but they won't go to jail, Ranjit. They'll go to the House of Lords.
Do you think that Nigel Farage could win any seat in this country by himself? Anyway, where do you think he would win? That was the last part. I said, go on, I said, tell you what, pick a seat that you reckon Nigel Farage would win, right? And let him stand there. And I says, I'll help his campaign. And I said, I bet he won't win. I remember the last time, right, when I spoke to you probably about 2 years ago. I said, Boris Johnson and Nigel Farage are in cahoot, yeah, and they were doing tactical voting. And I said, look, okay, if he's really serious, why don't he stand against Boris Johnson? And he never did he?
Right.
Right?
Two peas in a pod, yeah.
Two peas in the pod, definitely. Right. And the hoodwinking, because that's what people want to hear. That is a worse phrase, what I want to hear from a voter.
Well, at this point, if people are being hoodwinked, then they are allowing themselves to be hoodwinked. They're actually engaged in hoodwinking themselves. I mean, how much more evidence do you need? Wake up, sheeple. It's later than you think. Ranjit, I've got to go. But thanks for that. Yeah, Nigel Farage, fit for office.
Nigel Farage is not fit and proper to be in government.
Yeah, Nigel Farage is not fit and proper to be in government. Listen to the man. He knows what he speaks of. He knows of which he speaks. Or words to that effect. Bill says, I remember calling dial-a-disc from a phone box with a friend one night in the early 1970s. We heard T-Rex singing Get It On.
Rock and roll!
Yeah, dial-a-disc. How far things have come. Can you believe it? Dial a disc. It used to cost a fortune, to my recollection. If you wanted to listen to a song in the top 10, and that was pretty much, that was what you were restricted to, because we had one radio station then, as far as I can recall, and it just played the top 20 over and over and over again.
Boring!
And if you hadn't heard, a song enough, like Mull of Kintyre, for instance, if you hadn't heard it, if listening to Mull of Kintyre 86 million times was not enough for you, you could call up Dial-a-Disc and pay to hear it again down the phone. That's true. That happened. And it wasn't that long ago. I mean, God, the progress we've made, eh? I heard Mull of Kintyre just the other day. And I can't remember what year it was that it was number one, but it seemed to be number one for about 8 years. And it was on heavy rotation. Because it was number one, the radio station would play it over and over and over again. And I just couldn't stand it anymore. Neither could anybody else. I mean, we just could not bear that song at all, having heard it so much. And I heard it again the other day, and you know what? It's actually a great song. There's a reason it was number one for so long. It's because it's universally liked. And that's the thing about Paul McCartney. It's just, he seems to have this ability to just pull songs out of the air that the whole world wants to sing. And that's the unique talent. I mean, there's loads of people who can write songs. I couldn't. I wouldn't know where to begin. But there's lots of people that can. But the trick is writing a song that the whole world wants to sing. And he seems to have that in abundance. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. Nick Abbott. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
Right, so what are we doing?
Given we are doing a radio show, but it does remind me that I do a podcast with the very same Carol McGiffin.
Oh, right, yeah.
It's called What's Your Problem with Nick and Carol? And the idea is that we try to solve people's problems while not laughing too much. Now, we usually fail on both counts, but every now and again we come up trumps. It's an hour long, comes out on a Monday. There's almost 200 episodes. And if you wish to be amused and you have an hour spare, then I think it'd be right up your alley. If you want us to have a bash at your issue, then you must send it to the following address: nickandcarol@global.com. nickandcarol@global.com, and prepare to be totally satisfied.
Oh, right, yeah.
Ask for it by name on an internet near you. What's your problem with Nick and Carol? Angela texts, did you know that James Cleverly, the seriously out-of-his-depth Foreign Secretary, went to Ealing Catering College, from where he obtained a degree in hospitality? This is the qualification he holds, not exactly ideal to do his current job. He probably did his dissertation on how to make a decent sausage roll. And I read that during the break and I thought, rubbish. That can't be true. And so I looked it up on the World Wide Web, and it's completely correct in every respect. James Cleverly gained a Bachelor of Arts degree in hospitality management. What's that? He gained it from Ealing College of Higher Education. Blimey, he shouldn't be our Foreign Secretary. He should be our wine waiter. He should be bringing us a bread basket. Can I see the menu, please? I am stunned. Well, I mean, it's quite possibly a step up from you-know-who.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
He used to be our Foreign Secretary. God, we're lucky to be alive. 0345 6060 973. Let's have San Francisco. Hello, Mike.
Oh, hi, Nick. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks.
I'm calling from the San Francisco area. You know, the United States, we have the same problems with pronunciation of towns. And you can always tell if particularly a new radio broadcaster comes into the area and reads the news and doesn't know how to pronounce the name of a particular town. It looks one way and they pronounce it that way.
Yeah.
And it's not it. And I remember used to work in Virginia long ago, and there was a utility company that served electricity to everybody, and they got some commercials made from a fancy New York advertising agency, and the announcer came on and he said, here at the Appalachian Power Company, we're here to serve you, or something like that. And all the people in Virginia said, Appalachian, where's that? Because they pronounce it Appalachian.
Really?
And when that was pointed out to this fancy ad agency, they had to go back and recut the commercials, and the fancy announcer, had to pronounce it the right way.
Well, see, I would have thought that was the wrong way, because to me, I would have said Appalachian, but it's not right, huh?
Well,
Appalachian.
The point is, it doesn't matter whether it's right or wrong.
Right, that's the way they say it. Yeah, right.
If you're in the media, for example, or you're in these places and you don't say it right, yeah. The worst state for this stuff is Massachusetts, because these are towns that end in H-A-M, because there are towns like Eastham and Framingham. And you wouldn't say them that way. You'd say Framingham and Eastham. But then there is Chatham. They don't say Chatham. They say Chatham. They pronounce that correctly. So, you know, there are all kinds of...
Right. You just don't know where you are.
Landmines. There's a town in California here on the coast called Port, Hueneme. When I arrived here, I what on earth is that? And then finally I heard somebody say, oh, I'm driving up to Port Hueneme.
Hueneme.
So then I realized, Hueneme, that's how I heard them say it, so I knew it was okay. So whenever I drove past it, everybody, you know, where are you going? I'm going to Port Hueneme. They thought, hey, he knows, you know, he's one of us.
He's cool. Yeah, he's a ding-a-ling just like we are. Yeah. Oh, all right. Thanks a lot, Mike. There's traps everywhere. No doubt about it. Sam says, as a 2000 baby, my only experience in politics has been corruption, lies, scandals, and recession. Can you please tell me what politics was like in the good old days when people had a moral compass and compassion? No, I can't remember back that far, Sam. I'm pretty sure it was good, though. It was better than what we got now. At least we can agree on that. Yeah, a moral compass and compassion. Can you believe that, Bodge?
I can't comment.
Can't comment on that.
Blah, 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 blah.
I'm not saying it all started with him, but it all started with him. Pretty sure about that. I mean, okay, it didn't start with him, but he turbocharged it, did he not? The abandonment of a moral compass and compassion. Yeah, it all started with him.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Mr. Blobby, who's still inflicting his opinion on us. Thank you, Bodge. You've delighted us enough. Emily says, Harold Wilson abandoned the clock changes in the late 1960s or early 70s for about 3 years, but it only lasted for about 2 to 3 years. There was too much opposition to the dark mornings. Well, I don't buy that. I mean, we ain't no different to the rest of Europe. And the EU had a vote when we were in the EU. And so we must have taken part in that. And 84% of the people said, stop mucking about with the clocks. Just leave them. You can't do anything with an extra hour of light in the morning. Oh, what is the point? I have this conversation every year at this time, and nothing ever happens. Hello? Is this thing on? There's nothing you can do with an extra hour of daylight in the morning. Nothing. You're rubbing the sleep out of your eyes and you're fumbling around for your cornflakes. Nothing you can do with an extra hour of light. But you can do a lot with an extra hour of light in the evening. You can get out and go walk the dog, for instance. Just walk your wobbly bottom around a park for a little while. But, like I said, what's the point? Not that I'm complaining or anything.
Whinging and whining and moaning.
Johnny says, 1 million children destitute and Sunak announced the lifting of the cap on bankers' bonuses. Criminal, or it should be? Yes, there should be punishment of that kind of behaviour. Exactly. Yeah, curious, ain't it, that if we give nurses an extra tenner a week, that would be inflationary. But giving bankers the ability to earn millions and millions of pounds by betting on red, then that's just fine. And, of course, if black comes up and they lose all their money, us poor dopes who pay taxes will bail them out.
The little people.
Yeah.
But it ain't like you think. It ain't leprechauns, don't you see? It's little men from Mars or somewhere. And it ain't a toadstool they're under. It's a spaceship.
OK, well, let's not get carried away. Clive says, I liked Brian Cox when he was in The Long Kiss Goodnight with Gina Davis. Was he? Also, he was great in the Bourne films. Yeah, he was great in the Bourne films. Very grisly and, yeah. But I have found his recent stargazing and other science stuff a disappointment and boring. Strangely, he does look younger now than he did a few years ago. Could that be something to do with the sun expanding? Almost certainly, yes. Brian Cox, yeah. He was the baddie in... Well, spoiler alert.
Warning.
He was the baddie in the Bourne films. Oh, one of the baddies in the Bourne films. I think they're due another one of those, aren't they? There's just too few action-adventure films. I just keep watching the same ones over and over again. There's just not enough being made. Come on, what's his name? Matt Damon and the other one, Tom Cruise. Get on with it. Joe texts... Cold winter nights spent in the local phone box ringing 160, dial a disc. It's hard to believe that we actually used to do that. Yeah. See, kids will have absolutely no idea what life used to be like. You don't know you're born, kids. They have everything all the time, instantly available. We had nothing, but we were happy. I'm not sure that's right. But, you always remember being happy. You always remember the happiness. Ed says, talking of pop groups, I wonder if you recollect Lieutenant Pigeon. Yes, I do. They employed their mother in the group. She played the piano. They were brilliant. Well, I'm not sure about that last part. Elaine says, Here and Now are broadcaster Matthew Wright's favourite band along with Hawkwind. Really? That doesn't seem to fit. But okay then. She says, I remember laughing at coachloads of Japanese tourists all riveted at the sight of the Stonehenge Festival, all looking to their right at us while snapping photos aplenty and totally ignoring the stones to the left of them. I met Marilyn of Boy George fame there at the entrance notice board area 2, says Elaine, who is, giving us all of her yesterdays. Phil says, I was so drunk last night I fell down and missed the floor. Uh-oh. A listener with material.
Oh, no.
0345 6060 973. Luke says, the clocks go back at midnight tonight. I don't think they do. I think it's 1 o'clock, isn't it? I hope so. Otherwise, what will happen? It'll go back to 11 and I'll have to start again. Oh, God, don't make me do that last hour again. Says the clocks go back at midnight tonight. I'm looking forward to it because I get an extra hour in bed, and I'm not looking forward to it because I've got to work for another hour extra. Does that make sense? As much sense as anything else on this show so far. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk, and if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbott.
Hello, boys.
Hang about, Nick. Listen. Now, what I'm trying to say to you is this, Nick, right?
Should we talk about China? Rishi Sunak has been warned that China could send very nasty, dodgy people. This is here. This is next week. This is after he invited the communist state to his Artificial Intelligence Summit.
Warning, warning.
They could sneak into the war room and see the big board and everything. And who was the giant brain that said China could send very nasty, dodgy people to Britain? Was it A, Donald Trump? Totally nasty, believe me, everybody says so. Or Sir Ian middle name Smith? Yes, the latter. Former Tory leader Sir Ian middle name Smith lashed out against Prime Minister Tichy Suitsize's decision to allow representatives from Beijing to attend the gathering of the Artificial Intelligence Summit. And he wasn't alone in the pantheon of great Tory panjandrums, because no less an intellect than Liz the Blundertruss wrote a letter in crayon that was then typed up by an underling and sent to the perfumed princeling, which said of the invite to the Chinese...
That is a disgrace.
Yeah, well, we can agree on that. She said she was deeply disturbed. That's the part that we can agree on. She said she was deeply disturbed to learn that the government intends welcoming representatives of the same Chinese state that used and abused technology to end its repression, or aid its repression of millions and attacks on freedom and democracy. The Lizbot, very angry about all of that, because using and abusing technology to aid its repression of millions and attacks on freedom and democracy is the Tories' thing. Is this the same Liz Truss who was International Trade Secretary and gave the OK for China to build a 5G network?
Absolutely.
Yes, same person. Fishy Sunak is hosting an AI safety summit at Bletchley Park on Wednesday and Thursday. Unfortunately, no one's going. He invited the world's leaders, and every single one of them said, "Well, you know what? I'm washing my hair that day." US President Joe Biden, not going. Germany's Olaf Scholz, not going. France's Emmanuel Macron, not going. Canada's Justin Trudeau, he's not going either. None of them said they're going to be in attendance. Majorly embarrassing. Fishy announces a world forum to emphasise his importance on the stage, and the world says that they're busy that day. I mean, it could only be more embarrassing if a senior cabinet minister came out to say that it was not, in fact, embarrassing at all. In other news, a senior cabinet minister denied that it was embarrassing that some leaders would not be making the trip to Britain. Or any, in fact. Because after all, Tuvalu and Aruba, they've given a definite maybe. And if Togo aren't doing anything, they could be there too, as long as we send a cab. Great result, Rishi, on that robot festival.
Affirmative.
Sunak hopes the gathering is going to see countries and businesses consider the risks of AI ahead of more powerful generations of the technology being released next year. There are also planned talks on how the dangers of AI can be mitigated through international cooperation, which is somewhat ironic, as there's not going to be anybody from the international community there. We appreciate your non-cooperation.
Thank you.
Yeah, is this the thing that America is suspending? I can't remember exactly how much, so I'll make it up. £86 billion on artificial intelligence. And the European Union is spending £550 billion on artificial intelligence. And we, in this country, are spending whatever Fishy Sunak finds in the ashtray of his car on artificial intelligence. But the dangers of hosting the Chinese were laid out by Sir Ian Middlename Smith, who insisted that Liz the Blundertruss was right to warn about China's involvement at this summit. He says the real problem here and now is that I'm convinced that Rishi Sunak will not re-examine this because the Foreign Office don't want him to. The Foreign Secretary, James Cleverly, he doesn't want to reconsider the invite. Well, it'd be embarrassing to uninvite them, wouldn't it? He says they've set this up. The key question is now, who are they sending over? The Chinese. And there are some very, very nasty, dodgy people that are running this area in China. They're not sending their best. They're bringing drugs. They're bringing crime. They're rapists. And some, I assume, are good people. And we're turning into America in this country.
I'm president. Can you believe it?
No, Don. We're still stunned. Biden is confirmed not to be attending. Monsieur Macron will also definitely not be attending. Monsieur Trudeau and Herr Schultz also unlikely to attend. I believe that one attendee may or may not be Ursula von der Leyen. She might be there. But Education Secretary Gillian Keegan denied that it was embarrassing that some senior world leaders would not be attending. I don't think so, she told LBC. And, Education Secretary Gillian Keegan, an expert on embarrassment, so she should know. 0345 6060 973. Let's have Tottenham. Brenda.
Oh, hi, Nick.
Brenda.
Yeah, guess what? I rang up when I was 66 and I'm now 67.
67?
Yes.
Happy birthday.
Thank you for that. What I was ringing for, though, you do make my blood boil when you go on and on about us oldies voting for the Conservatives, because I won't, I never will.
Old people.
You wind me up. I thought, oh my God, am I going to reach 67? Because every time you say it, it just winds me up
your
all
head
the time.
explodes.
I think you've just got to phrase it differently.
No, I'm not going to do anything of the sort. I'm looking at the facts. They are in front of my eyes. The only age group that overwhelmingly supports the Tories as opposed to the Labour Party are the 65-plus group.
But they're not asking the right people. They never ask me. They never ask me because I've got a lot to say. I can't stand it. It's just doing my head in.
Yes, yours and mine both.
Yeah, but the thing is, I've always voted. I will always vote, although I am not happy with Sir Keir. I will vote because anything to get this lot out, I will vote.
Everybody should vote. It should be the law.
Yeah, because what happened when I was 17, when they used to come round and knock on the door, and the guy said to me, "Oh, you're going to vote?" And I said, "I can't because I'm only 17."
Yeah.
As soon as I got my chance, I have voted in every election, every by-election, every local election. I always have. Must admit, I've been teetering on should I, shan't I, because I can't stand what's happening. But I know I've got to vote, and I will vote.
Yes. I cannot stand these people that say, "Oh, it doesn't make any difference. They're all the blooming same. So what's the point?"
I know. I've got to.
They're
Women
not the
died
blooming
for me.
same. Yes, precisely.
I've got to do it. But please, is there any way you can? I know you're going on facts.
Only deal with facts on this show. Yes.
I think, oh my God, he's doing it again.
Doing it again. I know.
Yes, as if if I'd be so stupid to vote for this lot?
All right. Well, glad to hear it, Brenda.
And can I just say, I love your show. I cut every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You were the highlights.
Oh, well, that's very nice of you to say that, Brenda.
Because all the rubbish that goes on.
Appreciate it. Yeah. Well, that's not entirely fair, but it's it's more serious during the week. But thanks for that, Brenda. Cheers, my dear. John texts, talking about mispronunciations. My brother-in-law once ordered a lemon meringuingue instead of a lemon meringue at an expensive restaurant. We would all have spared him the embarrassment, but watching the waiter try not to laugh set us all off. A lemon meringuingue. I could do with a couple of pints of lemon meringuingue right now, as a matter of fact. Meringuingue. That's funny. Johnny says, tell Ray I am afraid they weren't headlights. One word, aliens. Hence, waking up in bed with his clothes perfectly folded. Ah, that's a comment on a previous caller. Now we've got to the bottom of that. Is that right? Is that stat that you just put at the top of my page right?
Yes, sir.
£3.5 billion is what we've committed for the decade to look into artificial intelligence. I think America is spending, it's something like $300 or $500 billion, something like that. And we're spending $3.5 billion over 10 years. Also known as not remotely enough.
Affirmative.
Yeah, doesn't matter whether we invite the Chinese here or not. We're going to be buying the technology from them, as they will be leaders in this field. It's just so embarrassing, isn't it? Where the hell's all our money gone? I mean, I know I keep asking this, but nobody's come up with a decent answer. They haven't spent any money on our infrastructure at all. And what money they have spent, it doesn't seem to have got us anywhere. I mean, they spent about £100 billion on a rail line to nowhere. And I can't even remember off the top of my head where it's supposed to terminate near London. Near, not in, near London is where it's terminating. I can't even remember what it's called. I've lived in London for about 40 years now. I'd never heard of the blooming place. £100 billion. And what do we get for that? Where's the money gone? I mean, they haven't laid any track. Where's it gone? £1.5 trillion they've added to the national debt in the last 13 years. Where's that gone? Does anybody have a clue? I would like to know, wouldn't you? I mean, they talk about giving us value for money, but there ain't no such thing. I mean, that's just part of the gaslighting. It's kind of like, this is going to hurt me more than it hurts you. No, it isn't. Andy says, I remember very well, dial-a-disc. I have a recording of it when myself and my brother called in 1975. You dialed 9016. Really? It says, my area in Fife was not supposed to receive it, but we did. The song for the night, when we recorded dial-a-disc in 1975, was Give a Little Love by the Bay City Rollers. It was run by the GPO, the General Post Office. Was it? Right. Because from my memory, I thought that you could choose which song, but I don't. You might be right. You maybe not. You might not have been able to actually choose which song you listened to. There was just one song. You made a phone call at the cost of I don't know, hundreds of pounds. No idea. And they would play a terrible quality down the phone. Well, you tell that to the young folk today and they won't believe you. 0345 6060 973, text 84850, email nick@lbc.co.uk, and if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10, Nick Abbot, LBC.
This is LBC. This is LBC with Nick Abbot.
What are you talking about?
You know, this and that. Louise texts, the bad incident that would result from keeping British summertime always happens in Scotland. So why doesn't Scotland have its own time zone so the rest of us can enjoy longer evenings? Louise, on behalf of England. Another thought, maybe it's not that dark in Scotland, it's just overcast. Well, I can check on the weather in Glasgow while you wait. One moment, please. There is a certain degree of tension as to whether it is going to be sunny or rainy. I wonder which it'll be. Aha. Well, it's raining at the moment, as in right now in Glasgow, and it will be raining tomorrow, and raining on Monday, and raining on Tuesday, and raining on Wednesday, and raining on Thursday, and raining on Friday, and raining on Saturday, and raining next Sunday, and then raining on Monday, and raining on Tuesday, and raining on... no? What? Not raining on Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, the 8th, 9th, and 10th of November? Pfft, rubbish. Something wrong with this app. But apart from that, it'll be raining every day for the rest of your lives. Oh, well, never mind. James says, Nick, how about Trottiscliffe? I'll spell it for you. Trottiscliffe. Trottiscliffe. No, pronounced Trosley.
What?
Trosley. So, that's more than half of the letters in there that are silent. That's just absolutely ridiculous. Trottiscliffe is pronounced Trosley. I don't know, maybe they were really drunk at the time. He says it's about 2.5 miles northwest of West... Now, I've got no idea. Is it Malling or Malling? I don't know and I don't care. I'm never going to go there. Not now, not ever, never. But thanks a lot, James. Thanks for the warning. Scotland, Ewan.
Hiya, Nick.
Ewan.
Good evening. Are you there?
Yes, are you there?
Basically, somewhere, but I don't care where. The artificial intelligence thing, I think the local councils could do with replacing the workers and getting artificial intelligence brought in, because some of their brains are a bit away with the fairies.
Right. Okay, well, thanks for the update, mate. 0345 6060 973. Away with the fairies, eh?
The little people. But it ain't like you think. It ain't leprechauns, don't you see?
It's fairies, yeah, we know. Sue says, the vast majority of young people I know in North Kent would ordinarily vote Tory. A lot are of the current mind of either Reform UK or Green. Wait a minute. The vast majority of young people I know in North Kent would ordinarily vote Tory. Oh, that's not true. Oh, well, maybe it is the vast majority of people that you know. Yes. Okay, I'll concede that. A lot are of the current mind of either Reform UK or Green. Well, that seems to be... that's not really... they're not adjacent, really, are they? Pick one. Labour and Lib Dem don't appeal to the youth. The youth crave impactful action and visible progress. Major parties seem to have forgotten that the youth of today is the future of tomorrow. Well, that's not true, Sue. And I can prove it to you because I've got the facts to hand. If you look at those 18 to 24... Now, these pollings, they sometimes they agree with themselves from week to week, and sometimes they just don't. But at the moment, this one that I've got that was taken between the 24th and the 25th of this month, those aged 18 to 24, 57% are going to vote Labour. So it ain't like you say it is, Sue. 13% say they're going to vote for the Conservative Party, which is stunning information to me. Like more than 1 in 10 of those 18 to 24 think that the Conservative Party is the party to vote for. 6% say Lib Dems, 4% the SNPists, Plaid Cymru at 3, Reform UK at 5, and the Groovy Green is at 6 or 8? I don't know, one of the two. It's there's a bit of a smudge. And other is 2. I don't know who other is in this regard, but, it's like none of the above. 57%. And that goes up to 59% of 25 to 44 64-year-olds, 45% of 25 to 64-year-olds, and only when you get to 65 plus does it flip, and more people say they're going to vote Conservative than they say you're going to vote Labour. 65 plus. Older people. Just to get that nice lady's head to explode again. Let's have Brittany. Not Brittany, you know, not that Brittany. This is the place Brittany in France. Dave.
No, I haven't got ponytails. Sorry. Titchy suit rack.
Yeah.
I think I know. I've got an explanation for why he appointed James Cleverly, and it's to do with the college. You know, you talked about he went to Ealing, and if you think about how that might get written on a scruffy handwritten application,
yeah, he misheard Eton.
Letters,
yeah,
exactly. Because if you mistake the dot on the I for a cross on the L, you got EAT, and then you've only got to miss through the vowel, haven't you? Because,
by Jove, I think you've got it. Yeah.
Who did they employ at Tory central office other than maybe the poorly educated? And we know who was poorly educated,
yes,
right?
That's right.
Yeah. Just as a side thing, Mull of Kintyre was the 1977 Christmas #1.
Was it?
I know that because I was 8-year-old, and it was the first time my grandparents bought me a guitar, and I spent hours in front of the TV trying to do it.
Isn't that funny? 1977, because that's the year that sort of punk exploded all over the country, and you associate that year with that underground movement. But the songs that were actually selling were the opposite of that.
Yeah, I know, but at 8 years old, my parents hadn't introduced me to the Sex Pistols.
No.
Not at that stage, no. Anyway, I got through your glamorous assistant filter because I had an epic drunken story. So, do you want to hear it? And he was very keen to make sure that it wasn't racist or had any sexual content, which it doesn't, but It's still quite fun.
Okay, go ahead.
I was one of those people in a generation where I graduated when the utilities were privatised, and I ended up on one of their graduate courses, which were quite generously funded at the time. So we went on these graduate training courses, which were just an extension of university, except you had a big salary. So you could afford to spend it on, you know, the stuff that...
The essentials.
Booze.
Yes.
Yeah, that kind of thing. And one morning, I woke up in the Moat House Hotel in Nottingham. And I woke up and my eyes kind of flickered open, and there's a prawn staring at me on the pillow right next to me. I thought, well, this is a bit weird.
Had you checked in with a prawn?
Well, no. A prawn was definitely not in possession of a second key card.
Right.
If indeed they had key cards. This was 30 years ago.
Yeah, no key cards existed.
The next thing I saw was the remote control for the TV in the hotel room completely dismantled, and for some reason my engineer's micro screwdriver set next to it. But the TV was still on. The TV was on, sort of playing something.
White noise,
the next thing
probably,
I noticed,
in those days.
Well, yeah. I think it was the news. I think it was the morning news by then. The next thing I spotted was that, you know, in the late 80s and early 90s, before we had proper UPVC double glazing, you'd have these secondary glazing in old buildings. They'd put another kind of layer of glass inside the exterior wooden layer of glass.
Yeah.
In order to give you a bit of draft proofing and so on. So that secondary glazing had been removed, and it was standing on the floor as if somebody had just sort of lifted it out, which evidently they had. So I thought, this is all a bit strange. And I went down, and I got the bus to the training centre with all of my kind of graduate colleagues. And as this bus went past the hotel, it went past the wall where my room was. And my room, I think, was 3 floors up, and a colleague of mine's window was in the floor below me. And for some reason, there was a load of vomit that had bounced off his window, which was partially open, and landed in the most ironic way on the bonnet of my own car and completely covered it. So clearly I had, my engineer's logic, having felt like slightly ill the night before, but not having recognised it, was to get irritated with a remote control that wouldn't turn the TV off. So I'd taken it apart instead of just pulling the plug. And then instead of going into the ensuite bathroom in the hotel, I thought, no, I'm going to lean out the window and hurl out of the window.
Yeah, on your car.
I couldn't open the window because secondary glazing was in the way. So I then proceeded to take my screwdriver set and remove the secondary glazing.
Yes, this all makes perfect sense, apart from one thing.
Which is?
The prawn.
Yeah, well, I think when I spoke to colleagues about this, they said, well, actually, you did have those giant prawns for dinner, Dave.
Right.
So
apart from just the one, which apparently you made friends with, and you've been living happily ever after together ever since. It's a beautiful story. Thanks for that, Dave. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC. It's 12:30. The news headlines with Serena Farrow.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott.
You're joking.
0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Tooting. Hello, Jan.
Hi, good evening, Nick.
Jan.
Your show is sometimes very fascinating. And in fact, you sent me on a trip down memory lane. But I wasn't planning to say this, but the man that rang up about the meringue
yeah,
took me down onto this, took me back to a memory where when I was at a kid's party, the mother was saying, would I like some meringue?
Meringue, yeah.
Meringue, and I was wondering, what is it? And then it suddenly clicked that she I was thinking gooey, what's it? Anyway, it was for meringue, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but it is quite gooey.
Yeah, and it is
coincidentally.
gooey, so it was quite a good word for it. But anyway, that wasn't my main thing. But I was ringing up about two things that occurred to me that took me on this memory lane trip. Was this laying down in the road? Not me, but it just goes to show how kids can be with each other. This is in a primary school. That a boy was teased, and I think he wanted to get some acceptance because he was always dodging around like the playground, dodging all the other kids. Maybe dodging like words like they were thrown at him like stones. He wanted to be popular, so he took up the dare that the other kids gave him to lay down in the middle of the road.
Right.
The school was near a hill where the
morons
traffic was always coming down, and he did it.
Yeah, morons. We're surrounded by morons.
No, but he did it. He lay down in the road,
right.
And it all went round the school to the teachers and everything, the headmaster, and actually that was the last time. That was the last. He never came back to the school.
You never saw him again. He lay in the middle of the road, and you never saw him again. Could the two perhaps be in any way connected?
No, I mean he did. He wasn't run over or anything.
Right.
It went like the gossip went around the school and to the headmaster and to,
can you believe this Egypt?
Parents.
You thought, yeah.
To the boys' parents.
I don't know why it keeps happening to me. Why do people keep lying down in the road in front of me? And why every time it happens, are the police right behind me as though they are following me everywhere I go?
Well, that's a bit spooky, isn't it? And it's Halloween coming up.
Well, that ain't got nothing to do with it.
No, I mean, it's spooky. It seems a bit spooky, like if it's late at night.
Highly suspicious, I think.
Well, or maybe they just like you.
No, that's not it at all. I just couldn't believe the attitude of the guy. He seemed so pleased with himself. He just ran into the road, right in front of me. If I'd been doing 30, if that stretch of road, if it had been a couple of months ago when it was 30 down that road, then it would have been a different outcome. But he just seemed so delighted. He was all smiley, and he ran into the road, and he clamped his arms by his side, sat down, and then lay down sort of long ways, in the direction of with his feet towards me. And I just thought, why is this happening to me again? And again, the police were immediately behind me. As though they knew it was going to happen.
Did the police get involved in it?
Yeah, they switched because it was unless my rearview mirror was clouded or fogged, it looked like it was an unmarked van, and they immediately put their lights on and they sort of lit themselves up like Christmas, and then I managed to make my escape, knowing or feeling fairly confident that they would take care of the situation.
You didn't. Yeah, you weren't going to be a good Samaritan, and then.
Well, I've done that already. I've been a good Samaritan already, at great danger to my personal self.
Yeah, well, you stopped, didn't you?
Yeah.
You were able to stop. That's the thing. I mean, well.
I mean, that's their job, right? Is taking care of morons like that. So I just left them to it.
Gosh. Well, yeah. Well, there's someone laying outside in the week. I wasn't going to say this, but laying outside in the passage outside my house, and I looked out my window. I thought I could see some feet, but when I opened the window and looked down, there was a man laying down there.
Right, somebody connected to the feet. Good thing too.
There was a body there. I thought, oh my God! But then some people out there were dealing with it. But a lot of people walked past and didn't take any interest in him.
Right. Yeah, perfectly perfectly normal in tooting, they thought.
Anyway, he was alive, and he was drunk, and he was taken away by
glad to hear it. Yeah. I have never been that drunk in my life. I can't imagine it. Can you? I mean, how can you possibly be that drunk that you don't know that you're lying in the road?
No, I know, it's crazy, isn't it? But Nick, there was something else I was going to say as well, because that took me back to these concerts and things that were being talked about. Because I went, as a schoolgirl, I went to see the Beatles.
Did you?
Yeah, I was a young schoolgirl, and I went to see the Beatles. It was actually in Croydon, the Fairfield Halls, which isn't a grand place to go, but...
Fairfield Halls, did you say?
Yeah, there's a Fairfield Halls in Croydon.
Well, that is a grand place.
Well, no, it is. But, I mean, it's not like some of the bigger places where the Beatles used to go. This is...
Well, it's not Shea Stadium, but it's a pretty big place.
No, it is a nice place, and they've done that recently. But going back in, took me on the tip of memory lane, because it was like I was sitting just on the stage. It was a strange setup, but I was sitting on part of the stage as well, and there were so many. There was a mixed audience, but why I'm mentioning this is there was a mixed audience of girls, as much boys as there were girls there. Yes,
right.
But it was like most of the concert was spent with the girl. I wasn't screaming, but all the girls. It seems like the whole thing. It's like you couldn't hear the music for the screams once it got going.
Right.
But the boys, I don't know. I actually never had much to do with boys when I was growing up, because I was in all.
Well, quite right too. Awful people, boys.
So I don't know what the boys there, the teenagers...
Well, they must have been putting their fingers in their ears, because the noise of girls screaming is just absolutely painful. And the younger you are, the worse the sound you make.
Yeah, it was awful. But I mean, you see it in those films that they did with the Beatles, and of course with Elvis. Well, Elvis...
I mean, just people going absolutely hysterical. But not you, though. You were maintaining calm all through. Right, I understand.
And the Beatles, it was like, because I could see them, I was close to them, you know what I mean?
Yeah, sitting right on the stage there, I heard.
Yeah, sitting around the stage there. So I don't know how that happened, but I was not that far from them. And you could see that at one point they were kind of fed up. They were probably thinking, oh, we don't need to even play anything.
No, just sort of stand there and get screamed at. Yeah, right. Okay, all right. Well, thanks for wandering us down memory lane there, Jan. Yeah, that's why they just couldn't be they just couldn't stand it anymore. Playing live is because nobody was listening to a blind thing that they were playing. They were just screaming their faces off. It's kind of bizarre, really, isn't it? I mean, why? What's the point? I don't really understand well, I suppose you work yourself up into such a frenzy that the screaming itself becomes the point, rather than what you're screaming for or who you are screaming at. The feeling that you get from screaming creates such an intense reaction in your brain that it becomes the pleasure in itself. That's just the screaming part. In which case, you'd think it would probably be beneficial to people's mental health to have, like, screaming rooms. Why not? 0345 6060 973. Brentwood. Wilfred.
Oh, hello.
Yes, sir.
Right. You stay talking about MPs. Well, I'm not mentioning any names, but I live in Essex, and my local MP, we had a problem with the local council because it was an out-of-town, I don't know if you know what I mean, out-of-town, from London, out-of-town into Essex.
Yeah.
And he actually come down with his secretary on a Saturday morning at 11 o'clock and met us in the local pub. So that's what we call a good MP. So they're not all bad.
Right. So he was a booze hound. Is that what you're saying?
No, he's just that he knew his job, and he was very helpful. And
but was he though? I mean, you said. Hang on a minute. Wait. You said that he met you, but was he actually helpful? Did he solve your problem?
He saved me a few £1,000 because the council who owned where I live, they wanted to charge us about £40,000 to keep the upkeep of the place, and he got it down to £16,000.
Right.
Which was, everybody. And one poor old lady of 90, she had such a shock when she got the bill. She actually died, which was very sad.
Well, now you've really brought us down, Wilfred. Thanks for that.
Cheer everybody up.
Yeah, exactly. But, okay, we found one, an MP that actually did some good work.
Yeah, he is retired now.
Oh, right. So, like I said, their success so far is at zero. But for the retirees, then at least one was completely great in every respect. All right, good to hear. Thanks a lot, Wilfred. Ed says, we may complain about dialing a disc, but spare a thought for our parents' generation who had to wind up the gramophone for their music. So who are we to complain? Well, it's interesting, isn't it, that we've gone through all of the technologies since winding up gramophones. We had dial-a-disc, and there was, there was mini discs and CDs and streaming now, and all of the rest of the technologies in between that I've forgotten about. But we're back to playing vinyl, which I think is a bit of a pose, really, playing vinyl. I mean, it's not the best way to listen to music. It's the best way to have it and to hold it, most certainly. I mean, there's nothing pleasant about holding a CD. That plastic disc, the plastic case that it comes in, is an awful thing to hold and to have and to use and to look at. If you've got a lot of them on the shelf, it's a terrible thing to look at. And streaming, you haven't got anything at all. There is no physical product. The LP, everything about it is great to touch and to feel and smell and look at. But the actual playing of it, I don't know. It always seemed like a bit of a pose to me. And so expensive. I mean, just ridiculous how much an LP costs. So make your next choice, your next purchase of a vinyl album carefully. I know what I would recommend. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Message coming in from next door. What does vinyl smell like? Smells like victory. 0345 6060 973. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbot, LBC.
Coming up at 1 on LBC, Clive Bull.
With both Rishi Sunak and Keir Starmer rating low in the popularity stakes, why is the country struggling to find good political leaders?
Clive Bull on LBC. This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850.
Come on, we're running late.
Yes, we are indeed running late. Time is running out. We are about to step into the dark for about the next 5 months. God, I can't stand it. Why is this happening to me? 0345 6060 973. Belsize Park. Judy.
Hi, hello.
Yes,
I thought I'd get you even more annoyed.
Oh, no.
During the war...
Here we go.
Sorry. During the war, we had double summertime.
Ah, why is that?
Well, because obviously we were in the middle of a world war, and we had blackout, so we weren't allowed. You couldn't have a chink of light showing through your windows, and had to have blinds and everything.
Turn that light out.
Yes.
Like that.
Yeah. So we had the clocks put back. I was a tiny weeny baby, but I think it was about 1941 until the end of the war. So we got the 2 extra hours of daylight.
Right, so that you could make more munitions in the factories, so you didn't have to turn the lights on, right?
Well, not me personally at that age, but yes.
Yes.
But I don't understand, because there were still sheep and cows needing milking in Scotland during the wartime.
Cows don't know what time it is.
No. I've never understood. I just thought it's me being stupid. I have never understood that argument.
No, I don't understand it either. Other than farmers don't want to be fumbling about in the dark and not know whether it's a cow or a bull.
Possibly.
Don't want to make that mistake.
No, but poor Clive tonight has got the extra hour, hasn't he?
Yeah, I know.
And would I be allowed to have another topic?
Why not?
Well, the voting.
Yeah.
We've discussed this many times, and now I'm getting even more maybe neurotic, because with artificial intelligence, they are now going to be able in the future to trace how we vote even more easily than they already can, because our ballot paper has a number on it, and that is recorded against your electoral roll number.
Yes, it goes on your permanent record.
Yes. So they can always check how anybody voted.
Yeah, and they can make sure that it's you, because you will have left your DNA all over it.
No, I'm being quite serious. We've now got with all the electronics and everything, there is such a simple way to check how everybody votes, and it's supposed to be a secret ballot. And in addition, I'd like a none of the above box, please.
No, you can't have that. You must pick the least bad option.
Well, I have to choose the least bad option, because there is no none of the above box.
Well, you could just not show up, but that should be against the law.
None of the above box, and I'd like them to have the embarrassment of reading it out at the count. Well, we're meant to be a democracy.
Yeah, and for the 54th time this evening, none of the above has just won. Yeah.
Yes. Why not?
Well, you can spoil your paper, but I don't think it will get counted or reported.
No. I don't want it counted as a spoiled paper. I think it might send a message, and maybe then we have to all go back and vote again. I don't know, but I don't see why they're getting away with it all the time.
Well, isn't none of the above picking somebody like the Greens? Because if everybody who was of a similar mind to you picked the Greens, then the Greens would win.
Well, that's another thing. Not everybody, but so many people say it's not worth voting for a particular party because they have no chance.
Drives me up the wall.
Yes, but if we did vote for the people that we think might be quite suitable to have a chance,
then they would win.
Would get in.
Yeah, exactly. Or at the very least, they would be able to join some sort of power-sharing commune.
Yes.
And by that method, more of the people would have more of their say recorded and acted upon.
So, because people listen to you and you have a public platform, oh God, I can't speak, public platform, can we beg people, vote for who you want? Don't keep saying, oh, they've got no chance.
Well, yes and no. I mean, if we were if we were voting on the basis of proportional representation, then yes, I would agree with that. But I think it's a bit different this time around. We have to make absolutely sure that a certain party doesn't win the next election. I mean, that has to be foremost in our minds. So we have to vote on that basis. Now, I'm not telling you which way to vote. I wouldn't do such a thing. All I'm telling you to do is vote. I mean, I'm not talking about you personally, Judy. I'm talking about everybody now. You absolutely must do it.
But you're telling everybody how I'm going to vote because of my age. And I am very insulted by that.
Well, so you should be. Thanks a lot, Judy. You see what you've done?
Don't make assumptions.
Yeah, that's right. Don't assume, because that makes an ass out of you and me. Yeah.
Right. That's all then. I'll let you go.
Okay then. Thanks a lot, Judy. Cheers, my dear. 0345 6060 973. Lee texts, the real reason that we have dark nights is Jeremy Corbyn. Yeah, thanks a lot, Jeremy Corbyn.
Boo!
Chris says, the last text was wrong. The clocks go back at 2 a.m. British Standard Time, and it goes back to 1 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time. That is an extra hour of Clyde Bull. P.S. I wonder if kids today know what a reverse charge call is. Mind you, in 20 years, kids may not know what cash is. Never mind about in 20 years. I bet kids don't know what cash is now. I don't leave the house with cash anymore. I totally forget to take cash anywhere because no one takes it, apart from barber shops, which I believe is, they're all part of a money laundering scam. Not all of them. Most of them, mostly, part of a money laundering scam. Why do they take cash? They don't take... It's the antithesis of every other business that you can think of. Every other business only takes credit cards. You can't pay for a pint of refreshment, booze, in a pub with cash anymore. They just don't take it. Which is terrible for people who don't have a credit card, I guess. Is there anybody that doesn't have a credit card? The people I feel particularly sorry for, I mean, ordinarily I do, but particularly so lately, are people who ask you for 10 pence on the street. I mean, there's loads of them on the streets these days. I mean, there's like Tent City out there, and they ask you for some spare change, and I can genuinely say, without making it up, I haven't got any spare change, or in fact any money of any kind whatsoever. Their funding route has completely dried up. How do they cope? Matthew says, can you imagine if Corbyn was Prime Minister right now? He'd be sending... no, not at this late stage. I'm not getting into that now. Ella says, having brushed paths with a few current young Conservatives, Let me assure you that the future is very much the same colour. The Tory party is much more than a political party. It's a culture, an identity, and a deep-rooted institution. I would compare it much the same to religion. All the evidence can point away from it, but the holy books never lie. I don't know what that last part means. It's not a religion, it's a cult. The far right, both in this country and America, are part of a cult.
Oh, shut up!
Yes, I'm talking about you, Donny, and your demented dingling fans. And what happens in America happens here. It used to be that it happened here 6 months later. Now it's almost instantaneous. It's painful, but them's the facts, Jack. Now, let me see. Stockton-on-Tees, AJ.
Oh, hi, Nick. I got this call, you know. It seemed a lot of nice people are opening their eyes wide. Anyway, I have a wee point on China for you. When you mentioned the Foreign Office, I had been thinking, I bet Whitehall has got influence in this. You know, I think the Mandarins of Whitehall, they will always kowtow to China, so to speak.
Right. Was that a joke? The Mandarins?
Yeah, it's the best way of putting it, Nick. Right. You know,
a listener with material.
Oh, no.
Right at the end of the show. I can't believe it. He's snuck in under the wire. All right, thanks a lot, AJ. Thanks for nothing. Mark says, myself and my family and I saw Paul McCartney in Sydney last night. It was an absolutely fantastic show. Even my youngest son at 9 years old loved the music. As you'd imagine, the music ranged throughout his career. A truly great experience, says Mark. In Sydney, Australia, eh? Well, we get here, there and everywhere on this show. And I appreciate all of the texts and the messages, particularly the ones I couldn't get around to. But as usual, I'm not very good at my job. Now, if you missed any of tonight's show, you can listen back on Catch Up on Global Player. We make this and the Friday show into a podcast. We take the news and most of the ads out, which means it takes less time to listen to. And with the time that you've saved, you'll be able to make up for the hour that you're about to lose. Or is it gain? It's very confusing. Clive Bull will explain further. At 4 o'clock, it's Ian Payne. But first, here he is, Clive Bull. 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 Here he is, Clive Bull.